Well, welcome to the Cozy Mystery Book Club for March. I'm Sarah Rosette, and I was the author in February. And today I'm here with Bonnie Hardy. She is the author of Getaway Death, which is the book for March. And we are just going to jump right into talking about books and writing. And so we're going to start with Bonnie's going to tell us how she got into writing.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. I can't remember a time when I didn't write and read. They kind of went together. I wrote like 3 young adult novels when my children were younger. And then, I sent them out and did the traditional thing, of querying and all that. And I got some interest, but then I had to kind of wrap it up because life intervened. And then I went back to graduate school where there was a whole lot of writing. In fact, one of my applications, I told a story instead of filling out and answering the questions correctly. And they said, boy, it seems like you're a storyteller. And I would say, absolutely. So instead of giving people stories that they didn't want to hear, they weren't asking for, I decided, I'm going to write books. So then I wrote the first 3 books that were more personal, more women's literature, journey kind of books. And then in 2017, we were sent to a remote location through my husband's work. And I thought, I've always loved cozy mysteries, that old adage, why not write what you want to read?
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up in Lily Rock.
Okay.
Oh, and by the way, then I read your 2 books about how to do it.
Oh.
So how to write a cozy and how to write a series. And boy, nice work. You have such an organized mind.
Oh, well, it's just things I've learned over time that's taken me a while to figure out. And then as I write them down, it's like, oh, it helps me figure them out. So it is. And I think a lot of people are very intimidated to write a mystery because there are a lot of different parts to it. So,
yes.
So
threads, right?
Yeah. And it's like all the clues and the red herrings have to fit together and the characters. So how did you approach that? Did you did you figure out your characters first, or did you figure out the mystery first, or how did you do that?
For me, the characters, I established Lily Rock, which was based on a town a small town, mountain town here in Southern California. So it used to be called Lily Rock, but now it has another name, and I've been up there a lot. So I had that kind of visual. And then I invited people there that I thought would be interesting.
Yeah.
And then I had the cast of people that I thought were going to be the bedrock of this community. And then I went about naming them. And as I did that, I figured out finally who was going to die. And then they started kind of taking off. So I had a beginning and a middle and an end. And then the characters got together and created the rest.
Okay.
I was hoping, though, that the characters will have a story arc alongside the mystery arc.
Yes. Yeah. And
never more important, but
yeah. Will that roll like from book to book, do you think?
Yes. That's the interesting part.
Yeah.
But never overtake the mystery. We always have to have a dead body fairly quickly, because I learned that from your book, and then move on from there. But it's kind of like, who's coming to town next, and what are we going to do with that?
Yeah. Well, that was one of my questions. I wanted to ask you about Lily Rock, if that was based on a real place. And I just think that's so interesting. So like the town and the location kind of came first for you, right?
Yes. And also because I knew cozy mysteries require a smaller environment. Or unless you're Nikki Haverstock and can create an outer space thing, but she brings them into a space thing. You got to kind of narrow down I wasn't going to put them in downtown LA. That wasn't going to work for me.
Yeah, because that's too, there would be too many possibilities there. You need to limit the mystery somehow. So
right.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting. I mean, I've read a lot of cozies that are set in like small towns, just kind of generic small towns, but yours definitely has like the mountain setting
vibe.
So do you enjoy that? Is that one of the reasons you set it there?
Yes. And because I'm so kinesthetically familiar with that, so I can evoke the memory of what it's like to walk up a hill in the mountains, or what it's like to smell pine trees in the spring and different seasons, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't have to research that part. It's inside of me. Yeah. I might have to find prettier words for it. That's always a struggle.
I understand you on that. So
yeah.
Well, so let's talk about cozies a little bit more. So you said you've always loved cozies. And so did you consider like any other type of cozy, or did you know pretty much right off the bat that it was going to be set in the mountains, and that did you kind of have that feeling from the beginning?
I really did. And I knew it was going to be contemporary. I didn't think I
Mhm.
was, because a lot of the news after book one, book two, the ones I've been writing so far, there's always a news element, a current
Mhm.
situation that what if this person came to Lily Rock, Yes. So that cozy piece, and it always reminded me, or I kind of had the memory of Miss Marple in St. Mary Mead, her little
Yes.
British town.
Yes.
And I sort of translated that piece to Lily Rock.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is interesting because small towns do have people come and go, and people say, oh, it's so unrealistic that there would be so many murders, the Cabot Cove syndrome where
It's right. How come she
but
keeps, right.
yeah, but I mean, people do come and go, and people come visit people who live there, relatives and things. So there's plenty
And my
of,
thought is, if you love Olivia Greer enough, you're going to accept finally that she's always kind of fallen on a dead body. And then I gave her she's at the beginning as a temp, so she gets to trot
Mhm.
from place to place
Yeah.
in a temporary way, and that's how it explains some of how she gets involved.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's really smart to give a job that's like more mobile or
Right,
changeable. Yeah.
right, right.
So, so tell us a little bit more about your characters, like how you came up with Olivia and then the other characters around her.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so Olivia, because I came from writing three novels about a woman's journey, and her journey for self-discovery. So
Mhm.
that piece came along into the mystery where Olivia comes to Lily Rock. She's visiting a friend, and she's bringing, she's ended a relationship, a long-term relationship, and she's kind of lost herself in
Mhm.
that relationship. So when she comes to Lily Rock, she isn't very trusting, and she longs to belong,
Mhm.
but these people surprise her. And so then I launched the more typical people. I launched a love interest, the nosy lady who's kind of middle-aged and getting into everybody's business, a
Yeah.
contemporary, a wiseacre police investigator. So they all come to meet her and how she interacts with them. And it's written in third person,
Mhm.
really close up.
Yes. Yeah.
So all those characters get their voice
Yeah.
a little more clearly.
Yeah. So did you enjoy that, being able to write from different points of view
Yes.
in the
Well,
story?
actually, I stick to her point of view, but the voices of the other characters are as distinct.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's I'm forgetting what they call that, Sarah, when it's close point of view,
I can't remember
close
either.
third person, something
Yeah.
like that.
Something like that.
But
Yeah.
and my editor makes sure that I do not cross that line. She's
Yeah.
very good at telling me, nope, nope, nope.
I've learned seems is a great word. I'll be like, my character will
Yeah,
see something and they'll think they seem to be blah, 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 like
right. Or
because
maybe, or
yeah,
it is, yeah,
you don't
right.
really want to put thoughts because they
No,
can't really know what they're thinking, but they can assume,
right.
from their expression or whatever. So, yeah. So, what about quirky characters? You have a very interesting sidekick, or not
Yeah.
sidekick, like an animal character. And I think that's
That's Mary
fun.
McGuire, right? Mary
Yeah.
McGuire is the he's like the well, he goes anywhere he wants. I gave him that characteristic. To actually, the town I'm riffing off of has a mare, a dog mare,
Oh my.
who is a golden retriever. But of course, I had to change Mary McGuire's breed. But he goes wherever he wants, and he shows
Uh-huh.
up. And sometimes he leads people to a solution, or sometimes he adopts the least worthy character.
Hmm.
And he's his own character. He doesn't talk,
Hmm.
but his behavior, just how she observes his behavior, helps her solve some of the mysteries.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's a lot of fun. And I think that the fact that he's the mayor is just
Yes,
so quirky and so fun and perfect for a cozy. I didn't know that had ever happened in real life. So
right.
that's funny that it's like based
Actually,
on,
real. Right,
yeah.
right. And also that everybody buys into that the mayor is psychic. There's no question of it in Lily Rock.
That's
He's the
good.
mayor. He's psychic, and he gets to go wherever he wants.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah. Well, so who's your favorite character to write? Do you have one that you just enjoy writing the most?
Mhm. Janice Jets. She's the one who's just snarky and in their face, and she's the voice Lily Rocks tends to be kind of open, and we love everybody, and it's all wonderful. And she just pokes at that all the time.
Gets to say all the things that
I wish I could
we
say.
would like to, but we never
Right.
do. Yeah.
Right.
This is a lot of
Right.
fun.
So that's good. She calls Olivia Nancy Drew.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, tell us about your research. Did you have to do any special research, or since you were basing it on something that you were very familiar with the place, did you have to do any other sort of research?
For the first book, I researched some psychological pieces to make sure I was as accurate as possible. And also I have a character who is two-spirit, and I researched that very carefully because I don't want to take something away or misrepresent a truly spiritual being. I'm very careful with that. And then I also have a sensitivity reader who kind of helps me along with those pieces. So I did research all that. By book 2, I was researching things in the news, like influencers and the life of influencers for book 2. Book 3 was the college admission scandal.
Yeah.
And then I mentioned to you, book 4 is about retirement communities. That's the one that's coming out next. And then the one about arrested development for young people and how that affects them. So that's the research I do. It's more into the topic of the day.
Right. And then you can just interweave those little details and things into the story.
Right.
Yeah.
In the hopes of being careful, authentic, and slightly informative.
Yeah. Yeah.
But not preachy.
But not bang somebody over the head. It's just like it's
right.
there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's why readers like cozies, because they get to look at certain themes or aspects or places or people. And it's like, here's this thing that's going on, and here's some of the things around it, or here's this hobby or this profession that you may not know anything about, and you can kind of learn a little bit at the same time.
Right. Yeah. That's the kind. I remember years ago I read Dick Francis books, and I learned a lot about horse racing and wine tasting. You know, and I don't think we can do that quite as heavily now in today's books, but I did enjoy that process of learning. Yeah.
Well, I think too, people are always curious about like your writing process. So can you tell us a little bit about like, how you write, like your schedule, or maybe the place you write?
So I'm going to start talking, and when it gets boring, just give me the time out. Oh yeah, I can tell you stuff. I write 5 days a week, and I write between 2,000 and 3,000 words a day in when I'm doing a first draft.
Yeah.
And then closer to 2,000. And then as the first edits, I slow down a bit. By the second and third edit, I'm reading every word out loud to myself and fixing things, because I don't want to disrespect my editor. I think she's wonderful and talented, but I want to give her the best I can give her.
Right. Yeah.
Then I have to have a little ritual to let go of the book. It's just like, you have to take it out of my cold hard hand. Then I send it away. But by that time, I'm usually deep in the process of researching another book. So that helps me break up with one and, cheat on that one to have the relationship with the other one.
Yeah.
I always know how many chapters. I know how many word goal that I want for each chapter. I like four acts. I kind of go with that piece. So there has to be continuing revelation and surprise, though my pace is not rapid. I have kind of a slow going mountain pace, because Olivia is a kind of a contemplative person, and she gets in her head and then she backs off and looks at stuff. So that's my character again. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
I'm pretty consistent. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, so do you know your whole story when you begin, or?
I know the beginning and I know the end, and then I adjust the dramatic things at each act. But it's not until those characters start interacting do I really know
exactly what's going to
where
happen,
this is headed. Oh yeah, that is all part of the unconscious creative process. Yeah,
I kind of have the same thing. I'll have like an outline of where I want to go, but like some of the details are really fuzzy, and I have to kind of get into it to figure it out. So I think that's.
Do you develop your characters specifically before you start?
I do
Like,
a little bit. I've
mhm.
tried, but I find that as I write the book, I get to know them better. And then like,
Yeah. Oh, good.
yeah, because
I'm
it's
glad to
like,
hear that.
it's like, I can't do like just the whole, everything on paper before and then just write it. I think that I'm a slower writer too. And a lot of my characters are more contemplative. So I have the same thing where they have to kind of get into the story and get
Uh-huh.
going. And then as I'm in the story, I'll go, oh yeah, she does this. And I hadn't even thought about it.
Yeah, and then you can kind of move with that in the direction. I'm always surprised. I write some sketchy things at the beginning. By the end of the book, I go back and I go, oh, well, I didn't even go in that direction
I know,
with that character because
I
she
know.
led me somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right.
And sometimes I'll
Mhm.
think, oh, I'll work so hard on a certain scene or a certain, like, kind of not necessarily a whole plot line, but like something that I think is going to happen. And then by the time I get to the end of the book, I go back and I go, oh yeah, I just really didn't even need that, and I'll have to delete it or change it. And so, yeah, I'm not
I relate.
super planny person. I do know where I'm going and I have like big kind of road signs and I'm like, okay, I
Hmm.
get from here to here. And then I figure out what's happening from in between these 2 points. So,
That sounds familiar. Also, something can be right in front of me and I miss it. Talk about a plot hole, Or I've tied up something, but it really isn't a tight knot. I have to go back and
mhm.
figure out this has to be more secure.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you do a
Yeah.
lot of revision?
Yes. I spit it all out fast
Mhm,
and then not revision, but well, the first rewrite is
mhm,
important. That's
mhm.
when I tie as many things up as I can to make
Yeah.
them feel logical and intentional.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so you're obviously going to stay with this series. It's going to keep going. So if somebody enjoys book one, there's plenty more for them to read about Lily
Absolutely.
Rock, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Lots. And if I get a dry spell, I think about somewhere else, but then something comes up and I'm dragged back to Lily Rock.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, so let's talk about tropes a little bit. You and I talked about we wanted
yeah,
to talk about
absolutely.
tropes, and so maybe we should talk about like what is your favorite cozy trope, or what tropes do you enjoy reading or writing about?
Um, Sometimes because maybe because I've read so many mysteries over the years, I fall into a trope and I'm not even aware of it until I articulated what they are. But
Hmm.
one of them is least likely suspect.
Hmm. Yes.
Do you use that one in your writing?
Yeah, where you think that, well, there's no way this person could have done it, right? Because
Right.
they're, like they were out of town or something when the murder happened, so they couldn't have done it. But then it comes
It
around at
turns
the
out.
end, yeah, that you uncover the truth, and maybe they really were in town, right?
Yes. Right. And you have to know how close to bring them to the characters that matter because I don't want a reader to be heartbroken that the bad guy
Yes.
was one of the great characters. I'm not
Yes.
willing to kill that darling.
Yeah.
So because it's a cozy.
Hmm.
Um,
And tone is very important, right? I mean,
yeah.
I think that's why a lot of readers like cozies, is they like that. They get
And I
attached to
want
the
them to
characters.
rely, they can depend on me to take care of their
Yes.
characters.
Yes.
You're a caretaker. They could go through some emotional difficulties or trying experiences and a little bit of distancing, but nothing that's going to break their heart.
Yeah. And I
Um,
think readers like cozies because at the end, they know it's going to be okay. Even though there
mhm.
was a murder, everything's going to be like the community is going to be restored at the end. And so they'll get that kind of little boost of, oh, it's all okay now. You know?
Yeah, a little breath of a sigh of relief, and then hopefully, what are they going to do next?
I know. Yeah. And where's that next book? Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So I was trying to think of some other cozy tropes. I think one of them is the like the person who's kind of down and out,
Yes,
returning to like their hometown or small town, or
yes.
and I like that one. I like the going back home, and because there's all the kinds of relationships there. Have you used that one a little bit?
No, but I think I'm going to write it down because that's a really good one to go with. Um, I do have uh, some things where one character will remind them of another character that has
Yeah.
left or
Yeah.
died. Yeah. Thank you, Sarah.
She's thinking
Is our
about.
interview over? I'm going to go write that down.
No. So that's my doorbell. Sorry about that.
Oh,
We
no
were,
problem.
oh,
And that's your doggo.
Yep. We are having a repair done today, and they had a time range, and I thought they're not going to come, but of course they do. So anyway, we'll keep going.
Okay.
Another trope that I've always enjoyed is I like to read this one is the locked room mystery.
Okay. Yeah.
And I've attempted that once or twice, but I think they're really hard to do. So do you like that one? Have you tried that one?
I haven't tried it, but I noticed it's coming up more and more in on television and cable, and also what I've been reading. So, what's hard for that particular trope?
Well, I think it's you have to figure out a clever way as the author, you have to figure out a clever way to make it make sense. Like somebody died
Yes,
in a locked room. And so, then you've got only really a couple of options.
ways out,
Yeah.
right?
And so you've got to kind of come up with something clever. And I really wanted to write one. And then I did. And I was like, oh, that's hard. I don't know if I want to do that one again.
It really is, because to make it interesting, it's hard. You're not just confined in your cozy space, you're confined in a room in the cozy space.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes. So
it's a tricky
limited.
business.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking about how you can keep things fresh. And I think like for that one, you've got to come up with like a new solution to it. Like, because like people who are mystery readers, they're going to be familiar with like
they're
how it
gonna
was
know.
solved in the past. So you've got to try and think of either a new way to solve it, or maybe it's not your typical locked room. I mean, kind of like Murder on the Orient Express is not a locked room, but they all are confined in a,
Right.
so it's kind of got that vibe to it. So yeah, I think that one's a fun one, but a hard one to do.
I was watching some reruns of Columbo, and I noticed they relied a lot on phone machines and messages that were left at one time, but they were really another time, right? Which is so not what we do now, right? So I'm assuming that some of that locked room material would have to be involved in the electronic glitches of cell phones and texts. And I don't know how interesting that is to read. And that's where I kind of glitch on that one. But I do like chance remarks, that kind of trope where your characters are just jibber jabbering and one of those remarks is actually extremely important.
Yeah. And later on it comes back and you're like, oh, that was
right.
Like at the end, hopefully your reader goes, oh, I didn't even notice that, but I do remember it. Yeah.
It's very much like real life, right? Where people are telling you who they are constantly, but you don't necessarily focus on the important thing.
Yeah.
Also, the unreliable character.
Yes. Yes. And that's tricky with a cozy because you want your readers to enjoy the cast and all the characters, but then at the same time, you have to have enough suspicious stuff going on that they're suspicious of everyone pretty much, right?
Right. Everybody could have, that's one of my things. I make everybody the possible murderer.
A potential, yeah. Like that there is some question like, maybe they did
it. A couple of times I get to the point I say, maybe they did do it. Maybe it wasn't that other person. I mean, I confused myself. So
yeah. Have you ever changed like as you're going along? Like it sounds like you kind of know who the murder is gonna be, or you don't.
Sure, right.
Yeah.
I haven't changed, but I've been tempted, and then I know I have to say to myself, go with your original idea, because this is going to cause a lot of rewrites, and you don't want to go there.
Yeah, because it would take a lot longer. Yeah.
Then you write two books essentially. So just write this book, and finish.
And then save that idea for the next one.
That's exactly right. Like that one you just gave me. Yeah.
Taking notes. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, so let's see. So we talked about tropes a little bit. Any other tropes that come to mind that?
I'm trying to think. I had a list of them. Because I don't write in first person, my narrator is not unreliable.
Right.
She may be, she's not stupid either. Sometimes I noticed your list of things that cozy readers.
Oh, yeah.
I was in my, she's not a ditz. I mean, Olivia's smart, but she's sometimes overthinks things. So she's reliable, but But first person narrator, unreliable narrators become more of a thing lately.
Yeah, especially like in thrillers, I think.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. To the point I don't trust anybody anymore. I mean, when I open the book.
you just can't obviously enjoy can't sink into the story and enjoy it a lot of times because you're
Right.
worried
There
about
was
like, is this right? Is this right?
a recent book, The Maid. Have you read that?
Yes, I read it. Yeah,
She was a wonderful character, but I didn't trust her for a long time in there because I thought maybe she was going to turn on us.
I know. And it's like you read suspiciously.
Yes, right. I
Yeah.
can't let go and be okay.
Yeah, like you can with a cozy. I mean, even though
Right.
that book was very, very light and
And
fun.
close to a cozy.
Yes, yes, it
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
Hmm.
So let's see. So tell us, what are you working on right now?
A book is coming out in May, I hope. It's called A Timely Death, and I play with time as an herb, and time is
Oh,
because
yeah.
it's a book about a retirement community. And
Mhm.
so, and the relationships that these aren't fancy residents. They're not all like ex-CIA agents or any of that. They're just regular people, the
Mhm.
residents, and they're connected to one family in particular with their grandson, and he's accused of murdering his grandfather
Mm.
because they think he wants the money from the estate. But so Livia goes, she's a temp there. So we get the corporate view, we get the residents view, we get the
Mhm.
people who are on staff. And that's the kind of bit I worked at a retirement community for a couple of years and I also researched it.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's A Timely Death. And there's a lot of time in it. Time. And I'm baking some time recipes just because I like throwing a recipe in my newsletter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's fun. And it's nice to have, like,
Yeah.
especially like if the characters are doing something and then you're like, you can
I
make
write it right
that.
into the book. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's
The
fun.
bakery is called Time Out. So
Oh, yeah.
so I tie in. I don't necessarily, it's not cute, but it's at least it feels connected.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's very clever. And the whole thing with the nursing home, that
Hmm.
all links it all together. So that's great. So
And
so
it's
the
a timely topic for pandemic and all of our
yes.
concerns, right? About people
Yeah.
in, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that'll be out maybe this spring, summer.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay.
Spring,
And then
summer.
do you have plans for more books in the series?
I have another book that I'll be done with and going to the editor, which is called Deadbeat Dad.
Ooh, okay.
Sounds a little harsh, but there's dead in the title. And
Uh-huh.
it's about a drummer who comes to play in Olivia's band and
Okay.
his family in Lily Rock, and it's fun and it's touching.
Yeah.
And then the one I'm researching now, doing a deep dive into doula culture,
Hmm.
a
Interesting.
doula to die for,
Hmm.
and
Wow.
that's what I'm researching.
Yeah. So there's plenty of books for people to read and
Yes,
enjoy, right? So just
absolutely.
keep going in the series,
Just
right?
keep it right. And how was all of it? I think I read that you have her on book 7.
Yes, she's on book 7, and
Very exciting.
yeah, and I have lots of ideas and things that I want to write about. It's just the time, and it takes a long time to write a book for me. I mean, it just seems to take a while.
If I were a little younger, I'd be moving a little slower, but I feel like I have time to make up for.
Yeah, that's true.
There you
Yeah,
go. Yeah.
yeah. So, well, this has been so much fun, and I think that people will really enjoy getting to know you and kind of the background to the stories and to Lily Rock, and I think it'll just be great. So,
Thank you so much, Sarah. It's so nice to talk to somebody that isn't just in my book that I read that you wrote.
yeah, we do
It's a
spend a lot of
pleasure.
time in our own words, don't we?
We really do. It's good to get out and open our eyes a little. I
Yeah,
appreciate it. Thank you
yeah.
so much.
Oh, well, you're welcome. So you can find the books at the Cozy Mystery Book Club,
Mhm.
and we will see everybody next month in April, I guess.
And I guess I get a chance to interview. I'm excited about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
All
look for
right.
Bonnie
Good.
next month in April. All
Thank
right.
you
We'll
so
see
much.
you. Yeah.
Have a great day, and I hope your renovations get done quickly.
Oh, thanks. Bye, everybody.
Bye.